What is that evidence that they found of wood construction from far longer than they thought?
Yeah, this is the Colombo structure, and this
Yes.
is something I talk about a lot in my videos because I think it's a crazy find, and I don't understand why it's not kicking up more of a fuss. Like, if I'm the guy that has to kick up the fuss about it, then I'll be that guy because basically the idea has always been that humans were nomadic hunter-gatherers that moved with the seasons and lived in caves or just kind of walked around for all of our history until the Neolithic Revolution, the invention of agriculture 12,000 years ago. And no earlier than that did we ever settle down and live in permanent settlements. But the Colombo structure was something they found a few years ago in modern-day Zambia. And what it is these pieces of wood, and I'll get to the point about why this wood has survived in a minute, because obviously, wood surviving this long is crazy. But there you go. Yeah, so the Colombo structure is these pieces of wood that have been joined together deliberately, cut in notches and connected together, tapered and secured at right angles. And they think it was either a kind of raised walkway, like a kind of raised platform, or a house, a dwelling, a hut, some kind of structure. And why this is so paradigm shifting is because not only does this kind of scream that humans potentially lived in permanent settlement. Sorry, I haven't even said this. This is 476,000 years old. So this predates Homo sapiens. So
Allegedly.
Allegedly, as in, what do you mean allegedly? Oh,
because we
exactly.
recently found out that they lived 300,000 years
I guess,
ago.
it could have been us. But what they attribute it to is Homo heidelbergensis, who's our last common ancestor with Neanderthals. So they're kind of the human species that came before Homo sapiens. So I guess you're right. It could have been Homo sapiens, and we're just not sure how old we are. But it's
look at that.
It's kind of attributed to Homo heidelbergensis. And the only reason this structure survived at all is because pretty soon after its construction, it must have fallen into a bog. And then that bog kind of got solidified over by the sun. And then it was preserved in waterlogged sediment, which protected it from decay for almost 500,000 years until it was discovered by us recently. And
how recent?
I think about 5 years ago, maybe. Was it 2019 or something? I'm not 100% sure. But it's crazy. It's lasted so long.
Another monkey wrench.
Yeah, I would say it's a massive monkey wrench because not only does it kind of really dispute this idea that we didn't settle down until, 12,000 years ago with the Neolithic Revolution. Because, it's a structure. And it's just because it's so unlikely, it's so unbelievable that this would have survived. But that kind of suggests that it's not the only one.
Right.
There could have been loads of these, structures everywhere. And
but as you said, Manhattan wouldn't exist in 100,000 years. So this is 476,000 years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And it's just wood, which is less durable than all the other things that we were talking about.
Yeah, and obviously people may be saying, well, look, clearly things survive. But this is an extreme edge case scenario where it's like so unbelievably unlikely that this wooden structure would kind of sink into a bog and then that bog be, solidified over and then it would stay in that preserved.
Then that they would find it.
And then they would find it, exactly, because, what
you
are the
have to go
chances?
476,000 years into the sediment.
Yeah, exactly, because we don't dig that far and look for anything sophisticated because we think, nothing happened back then. And then you find this and it really suggests that humans were living in much more complex societies and the fact that they had the cognitive capacity to plan, structurally engineer, and build a structure completely flies in the face of what we've always thought about ancient humans. Because we've always had this idea that there's been this very popular idea in kind of mainstream historical thought that humans only got smart around 50 to 60,000 years ago. And that's just Homo sapiens. We've always thought that other human species never got smart, never achieved what we call behavioral modernity. And this has always been the kind of idea that we went through this cognitive revolution around 50 to 60,000 years ago. And the most obvious proponent of how entrenched this is in kind of academic thought is, have you ever read the book Sapiens?
Yes.
Yeah, by Yuval Noah Harari. It's an extremely popular book. It sold something like 60 million copies worldwide. By far the most popular book about prehistory and, the story of Homo sapiens ever written. And Sapiens didn't kind of do anything new. It didn't. I think Harari himself would admit this. It kind of just collected the consensus of academia and presented it in a nice, digestible way to the kind of layman audience. But he took this idea that's always been present in academia regarding human intelligence, which is that while we've been around for quite a long time, we didn't achieve behavioral modernity until 50 to 60,000 years ago. And that's when we started apparently displaying complex cognitive traits like abstract thinking and planning and burying our dead and art, yeah, exactly, and complex language and things like that. But this just completely flies in the face of that, because if we had the capability to plan, construct, and engineer a structure 476,000 years ago, that means, mainstream anthropology was off by over 400,000 years regarding the advent of intelligence and the advent of permanent living. And that's quite the error. 400,000 years. Exactly. So that kind of suggests they could be off by similar margins about other developmental claims, because I don't know, that's a big, big error.